So first of all, good morning if you're dialing in from West Coast, and good afternoon to everybody else. It looks like we have guests from all across Canada today. So welcome to our webinar hosted by CDW Canada and Tanium. We're thrilled to have you join us today. We're going to get started very shortly here. And just to introduce myself, I am Nicole Severin. I'm an account executive from Tanium in Vancouver. And I'll be taking you through today's agenda and the first part of today's session. So before we dive into our main content, I'd like to just go over a couple of housekeeping items to ensure that we have the best experience possible. So we're using Teams for today, and we do have the opportunity for you to come on mute if you do have a question. But in order for us to get through everything quickly and on time today, we encourage you to use the chat to interact with each other. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat as well so that we can log them and ensure we can get back to them in case we don't get to them live today. And last but not least, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available to all participants after the event so that if you do miss anything or you just want to revisit the content, we'll be able to send a follow-up email with a link to the recording. And as well at the very end, we will have a link for a feedback survey, and we would really appreciate your input to help us improve on future webinars. So let's jump in. For today's agenda, we'll start the session by recognizing the various challenges faced by the public sector and to show our understanding and provide some strategies for tackling these issues. After that, I'll be passing off to our amazing Sarah Charette, Director for Solution Engineering, who will guide you through the Tanium solution and walk you through some typical use cases and how we're helping public sector organizations like those here today. And lastly, we will talk about how you can activate Tanium with CDW services from Caius, who will be presenting, and he leads the managed services at CDW. And then, depending on how much time we have, we may have some time for Q&A at the end. But again, please do use the chat to leverage any questions. So let's jump right into it. So as mentioned, I'm an account executive working with public sector IT and cybersecurity teams across Canada. And so I've seen firsthand the daily challenges that you face. You know, your teams are under pressure to move faster, respond smarter, and still deliver exceptional services to the people who rely on you, all while navigating highly complex environments. Public sector organizations often manage vast networks with hundreds, if not thousands, of endpoints spread across different regions. And these environments typically include a mix of legacy systems, sometimes with fragmented tool sets. So maintaining real-time visibility and control can be a significant challenge, making it hard to detect and respond to threats quickly. And when an incident does occur, ensuring that the right data reaches the right people promptly can be a daunting challenge. Complexity of environments makes it hard to achieve a unified view, complicating really the ability to take action quickly. And when siloed tools can't communicate, manual effort becomes necessary. This leads to increased time, errors, and costs. This manual effort often results in backlogs and an inability to remediate issues, leaving vulnerabilities exposed. And this is where threat actors thrive, it's in these gaps. And while AI and autonomous capabilities are promising solutions, tools that operate in silos hinder proactive management and automation, making the task even tougher. So to combat that, visibility really is the cornerstone of Tanium's approach to endpoint management and security. But what do I mean by that? What do I mean by visibility or lack thereof? Well, we know lack of visibility equates to risk. 94% of organizations are missing up to 20% of their endpoints. And this is significant because 70% of organizations have experienced breaches through unknown assets. So simple questions like, how many assets do I have? Or what applications do I have running? Or even what is the risk across all the departments within my organization? These can all be daunting questions. So when we jump into the Tanium solution in a moment, we're going to show you how you can get these questions answered quickly and with certainty. And I want you to start thinking about if you could ask a question about your environment and get an answer back in seconds, what would you want to know? And then what would you want to do with that information? Because the ultimate goal is not just visibility, it's also taking action. And Tanium takes this approach with Autonomous Endpoint Management, or AEM. AEM harmonizes multiple solutions into a single platform. So as you can see here, this spans across all these areas: asset discovery and inventory, vulnerability management, risk and compliance, incident response, and digital employee experience. With all of this in one solution, we then layer in AI-powered autonomous innovations, giving your teams the confidence to execute changes quickly and safely. This is going to allow you to find that right balance of speed and certainty, and the chance to be proactive, stay ahead of threats, and improve your cyber hygiene. Automation is then even extended further as Tanium seamlessly integrates with infrastructure platforms with our real-time endpoint data to enrich your CMDB, automate patch management, and streamline IT workflows. So our biggest partner on this side really is ServiceNow. And for security platforms, Tanium offers integration to support threat hunting and incident response. And our largest partner here is Microsoft. So let's take a moment just to talk about some of the top outcomes that AEM is delivering and what we're seeing across public sector. The transformation is amazing. 90% savings in manual task cost, patch cycles that are going from 2 weeks down to less than 10 minutes. We have a large Alberta customer who told us they reduced their time to patch their enterprise by 90% and helped reduce unplanned outages in IT by 75%. We have a municipality with 20,000 endpoints that reduced its patching cycle by 75%, and they got their vulnerability team and SOC to work together under a single pane of glass through Tanium. We also have a US state that was able to patch and remediate more vulnerabilities than they did in the previous 6 months combined prior to Tanium. We also have a federal agency that was able to save millions of dollars with Tanium by understanding their software usage and removing unused licenses. So there's lots of examples globally of how we're helping our customers save time and costs, but I think most notably is our win with the Government of Canada, where Tanium was awarded the Endpoint Visibility and Awareness contract to manage Shared Services Canada and its 43 partner departments. And through this process, Tanium received Pro B classification, which really demonstrates that we meet the required security controls applicable to the processing of highly sensitive information in the cloud for the Government of Canada. And our solution engineer, Serge, was hands-on with that project and has great experience. And so I'll pass it over to him now to share our Tanium solution.
Thank you, Nicole. So good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are today in Canada. My name is Serge. I'm based in Ottawa, so I'm more on the East Coast, but I do public sector coast to coast to coast within the Canadian borders. And with that, I also do some of the commercial side. So I'm happy to talk about both. It's always interesting to flip between the two. So today we're going to go through a small demonstration of what the Tanium capabilities are. We're going to show you a live setup. Slides are great. It's always better to see the product in action. And I'm going to give you a 40,000-foot overview of some of the key use cases that people typically start when they start looking at Tanium. From there, we have over 20 solutions that the customer can use throughout Tanium using the same zero infrastructure architecture, which is patented and gives us real-time visibility. So today we're going to play with a fairly small environment by our standards, 1,300 endpoints online at this time. We have some of our customers that show hundreds and hundreds of thousands of endpoints, some close to 1 million endpoints, and are still able to get the same performance and the real-time capabilities that we're going to talk today. Again, we're not going to get into details of that secret sauce. Happy to have further discussions, but to understand the ability to do real-time and when it comes to the threat actors today, we're going to see how important that is. So Tanium's capabilities with zero infrastructure, we have the cloud instance. We do support for highly secured networks or customers. We are in some of the most secure environments. So just to give you an example, some of the military Five Eyes, they have very highly secured networks. We're able to deploy on-prem for that. Most customers go down the cloud instance, which basically at that point, you don't need anything to be installed from a physical standpoint on your premise. And we're able to bring visibility and action throughout the environment in real time. We'll take an example. So we have the ability to ask a question in the environment, and we have the ability to then say, let's take a look at all the installed applications across the environment. Now, a little bit like Google, it tries to guess what I'm looking for by putting a keyword. You see a list, and I can see the first one being get install applications from all machines. Very important to note that Tanium does support Windows, both workstations and servers, many flavors of Linux. We do Mac OS, we do some AIX, Kubernetes, basically all the major OSs are going to find on there as an endpoint. So when we click this button, it will query those machines, regardless of the major OSs they're running. And we're going to get answers from all these machines almost in real time. So we're going to see this number crawl up to 100% in a matter of seconds. And so this is asking the question out to the endpoints to say, what do you have right now? This is not a database that was populated an hour ago, a day ago, or a week ago. This is basically the ability to say, I'm going to ask a question from the endpoints, and the endpoints will respond right away. In some of the largest environments that we have, this number goes up to 100% response rate on whatever's online in a matter of under a minute. So if you want to take something as simple as, hey, show me just the Chrome versions that we have out there, because I want to understand my browser posture. And we have a lot of browser capabilities, but this is one of the basic ones. We can see all the versions of Chrome that are out there and how many machines are responding with that version. Very quickly, we notice that we have one machine over here that's running a very old version of Chrome. So we wanted more information on this one. We're going to say, hey, everybody that's running Chrome version 80 dot whatever this number is, let's get more information. Let's get the computer name, something simple. Whose machine is this that has this old version of Chrome? So what we can do is then ask more questions and drill down with a snap of our fingers on what we call sensors. And we have hundreds and hundreds of sensors. Sol application is one, computer name is another one. But out of the box, we have hundreds of sensors available at your fingertips. And very quickly, again, we get the answers back from the machines that are running that. So I can see which machine is running. As good as we are to find all types of things, running processes across all machines. We have a rogue process. We want to see where else is environment right now. The ability to find out patch status, the ability to then find sensitive data. We are also able to do something about it. So again, this old machine here, or this Chrome machine that's running an old version, I can then decide to do an action on this information. So we can deploy an action. And again, out of the box, we have hundreds and hundreds of packages available to you at your fingertips. So from this point on, again, I'm using this all application as an example, but let's say we had queried a machine for a piece of information and the remediation and mitigation is about changing the registry key. We can basically, again, type in a keyword. I mean, we have for Windows machines the ability to create delete keys, but this action could have been, let's upgrade the software. Let's remove the software. Let's reboot a machine. And through our RBAC model, we are able to say who can do what, and who can do it where. So if you have a team that's basically more on the patch side and they are responsible for servers, when they go in this in Tanium, you will see that piece of the world. And if you have an admin, you can see the whole thing. So we have the ability to really bring teams together to play on the same data set while still maintaining responsibility or the visibility in terms of the environment into what they're responsible for. If ever there is a sensor or an action or package that is not available out of the box, again, we have hundreds. We also let customers develop their own. So a lot of customers will have custom type of things in their environment, and they can basically just integrate those in Tanium and then get that real-time capability at their fingertips. But if we go back a step, we cannot protect what we don't know about. And surprisingly, as simple as that is, most organizations still struggle with this. And our most popular initial capability or solution is what we call Discover, the ability to discover everything on the network. At this stage of the game, I mentioned the major OSs that we support for full management. At this stage of the game, the discovery capabilities will find everything with an IP address on the network. So printers, switches, you name it, we will go and find things. And the way we do it is we use a highly distributed model so we can quickly scan, and we can often scan. So it's not once a month, once a week, once a day, once an hour that basically we look at things. We look at things continuously throughout the entire environment and we can find things in your environment that you may not even know about. Again, 20% is the average number of devices that people typically find prior to having Tanium in their environment. Once we find devices on the network, we will give you three types of buckets. Hey, we found something. Good news, it's got a Tanium agent on it. We get all the capabilities that we'll talk about again within the session and then some. We'll tell you that, hey, we have some Windows machines, again, we support Windows that are on the network, and we don't know anything about it. So these might be undermanaged, lost devices. Then we can take an action on, hey, are they supposed to be there? No, let's take them out. Yes, let's put an agent on it. Oh, hasn't been patched in 3 years. Let's go fix that as well. The ability to find, prioritize, and remediate is something that Tanium does very well. And as I mentioned, we will find everything with an IP address. So even things that we don't natively manage, we can basically tell you that they're on a network, and we can give you tons of information about them. So we see, for example, Xerox Corporation. So this is probably a printer that's out there. And we can tell you the first time we've seen it, the last time we've discovered it in the order of minutes, because again, we're continuously scanning. And so therefore, as things come online, we detect them very quickly. And then you can start doing some integrations with this type of information within Tanium or even outside of Tanium, for example, on your networking DMZ. Let's go quarantine a machine that's new in the machine in the DMZ zone with the network inside of the house. Once we have the ability to go and manage everything that you know of, we are then able to give you a good visibility into your assets. So the ability to then say, within an hour, we're going to get a fresh database updated. So we do have a database that we can keep, although that real-time capability was, let's go see what's there right now. What we're going to do is automatically, by default, every hour, going to ask the entire environment for a number of attributes, and we have hundreds and hundreds of attributes that you can enable to say, go get everything. So if somebody goes offline, somebody's laptop goes on vacation, whatnot, the data we have on that machine is at most 1 hour old. And with that capability, we can then give you a full asset database within your environment. Take a look at one of the machines, for example, we can have things as simple as, hey, what version are you running of Windows? Windows 10 is being end of life, very important now for many organizations. It's been up for 2 months. The security folks might look at this and say, hey, you know, if it hasn't been rebooted in 2 months, the patches haven't been properly applied, the patch Tuesdays, this is a concern. So something like, show me all the machines that have not been rebooted in the last 45 days is something that you can do and get information within seconds. Hardware information, the ability to find all the install application, just like we did a little earlier. Let's keep a database of that, etc. From that point on, we actually dig a little bit deeper. And what we can do is say for anything that you're spending money on, you may be interested in seeing who's actually had it installed for compliance reasons, but also who's actually using software. So I'm going to pick on Adobe Pro. A lot of people know Adobe Pro. So if I say we're paying for 1,000 licenses of Adobe Pro, I might say, great, but you only have 800 installations. But we'll go a step further and say, but actually only 650 users ever use Adobe Pro. A bunch of people have it installed or haven't used it in over a year. And you're able to then say, great, let's go uninstall it using Tanium because we have the ability to manage software. Let's go uninstall it, reclaim those licenses in something like ServiceNow, and where all the business rules are present in the dollars. And then we can reclaim the software and save some money. You start doing that for every piece of software that you have, you're going to save a lot of money. And then to Nicole's point, some of our customers actually have saved in the order of millions of dollars. And so people will focus very quickly on usage not detected. We also have the capability of saying, when is the last time this was used from a business perspective. We actually go a step deeper. One of our solutions also that's becoming very, very popular, given the attack vectors that people are really struggling with these days. We have the ability to then also scan the disk and get you all the libraries that are installed there. So a lot of the software bill of materials tools on the market are more DevOps at compile time. I will give you a list of everything that's there. Tanium approaches it very differently. We want to give you visibility of what's actually found on all the disks. And so when you think of some of the vulnerabilities that hit the market in the last few years, Log4j, we still find Log4j in many, many people's organizations because, again, whatever they did at the time to remediate it did not have the right visibility. Things like libcurl, Apache Strut, OpenSSL, so some of those might resonate. So as you can see, we're now looking from a security angle about all the track components. So if we get a zero-day vulnerability type of notification this afternoon that says, hey, HTTP server has a problem, I want to know if I have a HTTP server. I don't want to rely on the vendors and everything else and wait days, weeks, and months. I'm going to say, do I have this in my environment? Yes or no. I come in here, I basically say, do I have a HTTP server? Yes, I do. Here's the version. It's as simple as saying, I now want to track this library, enable tracking, I'll change it for sharing sake. And then we can create some what we call SBOM reports, which will give you the really low granular details for the security people or the operations people, depending on how your organization works, to say, here's the exact path where this was found. We can do some Linux flavored type of paths. You also see Windows flavored paths, so for both. And then you can basically start doing actions to remediate and or mitigate those zero-day vulnerabilities. When we talk about vulnerabilities, speed starts to matter. We don't talk to any customers that don't already have a tool today. And to Nicole's point earlier, when you have many, many tools and then tools that try to coordinate those tools on top of that, and then further tools on top of those to try to automate something, to try to do some savings, you're creating complexity, cost is going up. So the ability to then say, how fast can I find, prioritize, and remediate something becomes a bit of a concern. The reason is, statistically speaking, you can find this on the internet. In 2021 and 2022, the mean time to exploit, so the time a vulnerability came out, to the time the threat actors were using it actively on the marketplace to do something bad, used to be about 32 days. And we had a sudden drop in 2023 to the average of 5 days. And I've learned and saw through our security teams that some of them are same day type of exploits. So vulnerability comes out the same day using advanced technologies, threat actors can start leveraging those exploits to do breaches. So the ability to not just do these things through desperate tools, but the ability to do it very quickly is where the market needs to go, and hence the ability to do what we call AEM, anonymous endpoint management. And you can only do that if you have real-time visibility. So giving you a visibility for any of our solutions from an operations perspective, security compliance perspective is also very key. So the question then becomes, great, we have a good understanding of what's on our network through the discovery phase, and we can pivot very quickly to get all our asset management under control. We have the ability to export that to the CMDB on a daily basis. That's something like ServiceNow. That's our major partner. We also support other ones like BMC Remedy and etc. We then say, what's our security posture? So we have the ability to comply scan the environment. We do both CIS scans. We have the ability to create custom organization scans. And we also do vulnerability scans, or CVEs. And we do these very efficiently and often. Most of my customers will do CVE scans once a day. So it's not one of these once a week, we'll go scan the network. Automatically, the endpoints will scan themselves at most every 24 hours and then report back. If we take a look at that ability to go find the vulnerabilities, we can see all the vulnerabilities in my environment. I could decide to say, show me the endpoints that are the hottest or the most at risk. And I can see that I have an endpoint here that's got over 4,000 CVEs against it. I don't know about you, but an environment that's small as 1,000 endpoints, or if you think about some of the organizations of tens or hundreds of thousands, you don't know the endpoints by heart. Click of a button, I can then say, hey, what is this machine? Click a button and then pivot back to my asset details that we just saw, and actually get a really deep understanding of that one endpoint that's really vulnerable in terms of all the asset information, or with a click of a button, understand the patch status and push patches on a targeted basis, as well as software type of updates, depending on what you're licensed for. So the ability to pivot and not have to do a swivel chair or take a bag, throw over the fence to another team who's using a different tool who may or may not see the world as deeply as we do, has the ability to bring teams together into that ability to pivot. As we mentioned, the ability to find things is great, but we also have the ability to remediate things. So if we open one of these types of CVEs up, we can also get all the fun details about it. When there are patches, not every CVE has patches, but if there are OS patches with that CVE, and this becomes a critical function for your organization, you have the ability to then pivot to say, all right, I'm looking from a compliance perspective and I'm scanning and finding these things, typically security teams, and I want to go fix it, typically operations teams. And so we have the ability to just click a button and pivot over to our patching solution, again, within the same platform. And then we have the ability to say what patches we want to go out based on our change management. And then we can go and remediate this. Some of our customers are able to scan on demand, so we can have on-demand scans, push patches out to hundreds of thousands of machines, and then do another on-demand scan of the CVEs to find out that did we fix everything? Did we forget to do something? And do this in a matter of measured in minutes. So basically find, prioritize, and again, remediate in measured in minutes. When it comes to patches, everybody does Patch Tuesdays for Microsoft. Everybody does, Linux patching, which is not approached the same way. But we have all the patch scans that we can do in the environment, and we have the ability to look at the patches that are released. And this is where we start looking at the ability to say, do we want to automate certain things, but within a certain amount of control? Most of my customers don't do patch Tuesdays anymore. What they do is build automation around it, with a lot of barriers to make sure they're protecting themselves from bad patches, and they let it go. And then basically their teams are able to focus on exception handling only, saving a lot of time, and let the teams be able to focus on more important work than mundane, repetitive, monthly type of patching. The way we achieve this is the ability to automate patches following maintenance windows, following whatever business rules you have. You can treat different parts of your environments separately. So you can say servers, maintenance windows at 2 a.m. for this set, different maintenance windows for those set. Workstations, we can handle those differently, right? So we can basically have the ability to go patch. And the way we do automation with AEM is we have the ability to say, what have other people done? And a lot of people have already applied this patch. Is it a good patch? Is it successful? Or is it a bad patch that we don't want to either deploy, or we want to really do some internal testing before we let it go? Here's an example. If you take a look at the confidence scores of this patch, the first one is selected, 1.2 million endpoints within the Tanium purview. We have millions of endpoints managed worldwide, have installed this one patch. The success rate across all those endpoints in many, many environments has been 98.5%. And very importantly, nobody's uninstalled it. So people typically will do exception handling. Again, the Windows machine needed a little bit of a tweaking, but uninstallation of a patch basically is kind of a little bit of a red flag. So we have all that data at our fingertips. So it's almost like you have access to this massive test bed for this patch globally in many, many different environments that all have their special flavors. And then you can start making the decision to say, I will automate any patch that has a high success rate or high confidence scores in my environment automatically. And the ones that don't have a high confidence scores, don't automate them. Let some engineer come in, take a look, and then we can make a decision. We will go a step further. As you do patch automation throughout your environment, you have the ability to then say, in my environment, it might be slightly different than everybody else's. So we will have a deployment schedule. Automatically deploy it. However, go to the test machines first. And if the success rate is high on my test machine, automatically go to my early adopters. And if that's also highly successful, then go to the entire environment. So you can define these types of very systematic approaches with rules on real-time visibility of what's going on in the environment to allow that automation to be in a controlled fashion. Here's an example of a patch that is a low criticality. So again, 480,000 machines have tried to install this patch, but we detect only a 95% success rate. But really the key thing here is we do have an installation base going on. So that one, for example, in your automation will not go automatically, and you can come in and do some decisions or testing prior to letting it go. From there, we also have the ability to do the same thing, but with software or third-party updates. Again, within the same platform, zero infrastructure, real-time visibility, we can then say what software is out there. We saw the ability to see what's installed, the ability to see what's actually used, but what about browser updates? Browsers are, for example, are a major attack vector these days. So how do we make sure everybody's browsers, we saw Chrome at the beginning, one machine running an old version, how do we make sure that every time a new version of Chrome comes out, we can basically roll it out again using those controls that we have? And just like we did earlier, we have the ability to look at confidence scores to allow us to control, do I want this release to go out or not? For software, we actually look at things a little bit differently. We look at CPU RAM utilization before, CPU utilization after the update, and we'll build UA confidence scores accordingly. So we're using Microsoft Teams today for this call, so I'll pick on Microsoft Teams. If Microsoft Teams comes out with a new version and everybody's CPU is spiking after that release, we'll prevent the automation from releasing bad software across your environment, because again, other people have done it. Confidence score is going to go lower because we're detecting those types of performing metrics that are happening in the wild, we'll call it. And then again, you're going to protect yourself from that. While anything that's kind of good, you can basically let it go and understand what's going on. And we can automate the whole thing again with a very deployed approach. We also have the ability to have self-service, so users can also download software themselves. So again, using the asset management that we saw, hey, who's actually using software, and our deploy solution allows you to install, uninstall things. You can basically start creating an automation as well to say once a week, once a month, whatever you want. Everybody hasn't used Adobe Pro in the last 45 days, automatically uninstall it. And we'll let them re-download it should they really need it through a self-service portal. And we'll have really accurate statistics on how many licenses do we really need to get the cost savings from a business perspective. As we look at all these different vectors, I'm showing you, the ability to discover things, the ability to asset manage, the ability to patch, the ability to scan all within the same solution and be able to pivot very quickly without having to jump from tool to tool, all with the real-time capabilities. We also have the ability to look at multiple vectors. So we have the capability of finding all the certificates on your environment and the ability, for example, to say, what is my cipher level? Quantum technologies are coming out. I want to make sure that all my certificates are at least at a certain cipher level. What about expiry? It's a very business impacting. My certificate expires and the website goes down. So I want to prevent that. So give me the expiry date so I get notification before they expire. We can also get into the heavy threat hunting capabilities in real time. We have a machine that's been compromised with a rogue process. Let's quarantine it right now and do remedial actions such as kill a process all within the same platform. But in my large environment, where else is this process? We can ask a question using our threat hunting capabilities, get the answers in seconds, and then, 15 machines have that process. Let's go quarantine them, remediate them, and release them so that we are safe as quickly as possible. Because again, the threat actors are working on a cadence that is unprecedented. And from an operations perspective, again, we have the capabilities of understanding performance of machines, automatically doing proactive IT. So when a machine or mundane ticket comes in to say, hey, my machine is slow. Oh yeah, your disk is almost full. Let's run a disk cleanup. What if that was all automated? We automatically detect disk space usage, automatically ask the user, would you like me to remediate, yes or no? Automatically deploy the action, track all of it, and with something like ServiceNow, the ability to synchronize and orchestrate IT ticketing. So we will open the ticket. If the remediation is successful, automatically close the ticket. So you also have all the tracking on that side of the house from a business standpoint. Releasing your agents to be able to focus on the tickets that are a little bit more complex that cannot be automated. And so on and so on. When you have the ability to have all these vectors, then the executives, one thing that takes a lot of time in a lot of organizations is the ability to report. And again, because we have the ability to report on all these vectors in a single pane of glass, we are able to do things that are very, very easy for compliance perspective. One example, Tanium Executive Dashboard is an example of maybe something an executive wants to know about their environment, or they need to report to the boards, or they need to basically report for compliance reasons in the public sector, and have the ability to just click a button. It will go gather the real-time information about whatever it is in that board, report back, and that's done. I can have this as an HTML file in an executive's inbox on a cadence every Monday morning at 8 a.m. every day if that's what they want. We have the ability to say, here's my posture and asset and discovery. What am I at right now? What about the manufacturers? What are we really using? What's the ownership look like from all these Windows workstations? What is my security posture? How many vulnerabilities am I doing? And am I trending up or am I trending down? Am I getting better or do I need to put some more effort on it? What is my CVSS finding from a security standpoint? High, low, medium? And what is my top 10 vendor usage? And again, I'm just scrolling down this report. You can now get into third-party OS and patching updates, and etc. If you go back to dashboards, you can also do things from a compliance perspective. I'm not sure if anybody here is a little bit more compliance, but things like NIST. NIST is also getting more popular. But what about a NIST report? I know a lot of organizations that spend months trying to gather all this data and come up with reports. A lot of Tanium customers build these reports that they need into Tanium and are able to click a button, get the real-time information of what's there right now, and just generate the report and send it off. So a lot of time savings and a lot of capabilities to basically go down the path of understanding what's in the network. I'll give you one more example because this one for the public sector, especially again, I work with the government of Canada who is deploying Tanium across all departments. But the ability in this case, we're looking at a metric called risk scores, one of the capabilities of Tanium. What is my risk score according to all these vectors? You can basically see the overall risk for the organization. You can then say, well, okay, great, but what is the risk on my critical infrastructure? To keep the ability to say servers are critical, deputy minister's laptop is critical, and things like that. What is the risk on those machines? So we can slice and dice environment, as I like to say. And then we can actually split it up either by department. Again, for public sector government, we can say between Revenue Canada, what about NRC? What about that? Or within an organization, you can all say, what about human resources? What about the finance team? What about the R&D teams? your choice. You have the capabilities of building these dashboards and getting a really good understanding of where that risk comes from. Is it a specific team that we need to go target, or is it something across the environment? So the reporting capabilities, again, based on all real-time information, gives you a lot of vectors for both your operations team, the security teams, and also anybody that's in compliance. So with that, I will pass it over to Caius, who will talk about what CDW can bring to the table, and then we'll have some time for Q&As afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Serge. Thanks everybody for sticking with us. I know there's a lot of questions that usually come up with the tech demos, and we're eager to answer those. So feel free to preload the chat if you don't want to forget something, or you can wait till the end, and we'll hopefully have a bit of time for Q&A. So I'm Caius St. George. I'm at CDW Canada. I'm responsible for managed services strategy, among other things. And I thought today I'd talk about why CDW is a partner with Tanium for services, and why does it make a difference to us and to our customers, and the reasons why we came to where we are today. So as you know, there's a lot, as you saw, there's a lot of modules and a lot of functionality and a lot of value that Tanium can bring. But where do we start? What's the most important place for us as a business to start? So that's what we really wanted to focus on today, and we've focused our offerings on getting our customers a great amount of value for a small amount of duration and effort. And why we focused on that was because, like you, we manage a lot of environments for customers. And a lot of environments started with things like SCCM and competing platforms out there that were set up and managing the PCs in the space. And you can probably go back like 10, 15, 20 years here. Those technologies are still doing the same thing that they were doing 20 years ago. And then mobile devices came around, cell phones, tablets for public works. Maybe they've got things in their cab, that kind of thing, and that you need to, okay, fine, we'll use Intune because that works, or we'll use AirWatch or something else. And maybe you've connected those together. A lot of our customers did, and tried to sync up, specifically Intune and SCCM. But there was other functionality with other platforms and other ways of doing this. Well, that's great. Okay, now you can manage your devices and you can patch your devices. And then we would often come in as well, because we've got a huge risk and compliance team. Customers would ask us, okay, well, can you help me with my vulnerability scanning and make sure that we're up to date? So we'd often also step into this environment with, well, now we're adding another tool, another vulnerability platform to scan the environment. And then we're going into the mobile device management platform and the PC management platform, and packaging applications and deploying applications and trying to make sure that things are kept up to date. There's what we experienced, though, and the thing that really made us stop and analyze, there's got to be a better way, was the understanding that there are some really key misses that we see with these technology approaches. The first one is discovery. You saw that Tanium has a fantastic discovery platform, but a lot of the time customers, because of the size of the environment, you've got to manage things with teams. The security team would come and say, well, these are the devices that need to be scanned for vulnerabilities, but that isn't up to date because they haven't received the update from the other team about the new devices in the network or that are in the management platform or what have you. So you're starting off not covering all your devices. And then what about third-party applications? Like I spoke to a very, very large organization a few months ago, and they said they were about 1.5 years behind on their application packaging. So even if there was a vulnerability that came out today or some critical functionality bug fix patch came out today that they wanted to get out, it would take them 1.5 years to deploy it, because that's how backed up they were for packaging all of their applications. And then all of this is responsiveness. Time wins as far as security is concerned, being able to get out there and package up the environment. So with that said, we asked ourselves some questions. What if, when there's a vulnerability that comes out, we can understand right away what's vulnerable, and then get a patch deployed. And maybe there's no patch, maybe the vendor hasn't released a patch yet. That's great. At least we know what we've got, and we'll have other ways of mitigating that vulnerability. And then, work through to remediation. And what if we could get all this done in 2 days, right? Well, as you saw, this is not like Tanium can do this much faster. But this was the what if for ourselves. And so with that what if, we came to this as the core suite of services that we really thought it was worth focusing on to get maximum value for our clients. So with the core agent deployed, we looked at understanding what's in the environment with discovery, running vulnerability scans, patching the operating systems, deploying third-party app patches. We'll also, obviously we can package up applications for customers as well and add that to the mix. And then reporting and connecting all of that we use ServiceNow, so into our ServiceNow ITSM. So we've got a really rich CMDB that's up to date, and all the reporting that will flow out of that. And then also, again, because of risk and compliance, making sure that we can report on the security profile of all these assets as well, which is often related to patches and things like that too. So anyway, this is what we focused on. And as we built out our services, we built out some standard services that are fast to deploy and really easy to get up and running for our clients. And so whether you're looking at self-managing Tanium or you're looking for a managed service, there are benefits to both models, to be honest, for our clients. It can all start with a risk assessment of your environment, where we come in and we can look and show the value of Tanium. So understanding how vulnerable you are can often help with the internal kind of, if you've got a CAO or somebody like that, or a city manager, helping them, or somebody else in the public sector, they've got to understand what's at risk here. We can help you with that. And then we have a rapid deployment services, fixed fee. It can be done a lot less than a month or two, but typically people like to get the agents out there and like to get a really good understanding for things before they finalize on a lot of their policies and settings. And then from there, the journey splits. You can either go into a self-managed world, or we can manage the service for you. In which case, we're on the eyes on console 24/7. If any alerts come out or any critical vulnerabilities, you don't have to get woken up in the middle of the night to go deal with that. And we'll integrate our service with your security policies, with your change management processes. We'll set and all of the patching processes and vulnerability scans. Everything is customizable as far as what schedule you want to run things on. So there's a lot more that we do at CDW. Sorry, I'm going to go back to this. A lot more that we do at CDW than this around Tanium, but these are our core offerings to bring these what we consider to be the major benefits of Tanium for people who are getting started into your hands and providing results as fast as possible. There's a lot more to what CDW's managed services team can do. So if you look at this and you say Tanium is great, but I also have this other thing that I need to manage as well, or need to get deployed as well, then we have a lot of capabilities across our organization, whether it's network, whether it's security, or what have you. We also we hold ourselves to a very high standard. We have 4 compliance standards that we adhere to and are audited annually for. And then great customer satisfaction. So if anybody's looking and considering managed services, am I going to get a good service from CDW? The answer is a resounding yes. That 81.8 NPS is considered world-class within the NPS ecosystem. So with that said, I'm going to wrap it up and say thank you for your time this morning. If you have any questions, please pop it in the chat and unmute yourselves if you'd like to put your hand up and ask a question, because we do have 15 minutes. You can also scan the QR code or go to cdw.ca/Tanium. And there's a form you can fill in if you'd like to take any next steps or actions or understand what it would take to get a risk assessment or Tanium deployed in your environment and get that information into your hands as fast as possible. That's a great place to go because there's a form there that will record everything for you. So thank you very much, and I will hand over the microphone.
Thanks, guys. So I see one question from Roger. Does Tanium support rolling out group policy? So yes, we do have a policy capability. It's one of the many tiles or solution areas that we have. So we have the ability to roll out policies, and also very important, we can basically not only roll out policies, but manage device, whether they're on-prem or off-prem. So people are at home, Tim Hortons, as soon as they're online, we can basically manage those devices and push policies out to them as well as patches or everything else like that. So that is a one of the many tiles that you saw at the end is policy management. Good question. Again, we can take questions on the chat, or you can unmute yourself. Don't be shy.
I guess we did a great job, and everybody loves it, or everybody had already read the everything on the website before they started because they were so excited, right? Okay, in all seriousness, everybody, if anybody does have any questions or wants to have a deep dive, an understanding of how Tanium can work in your environment, please don't hesitate to fill in the form on the website or reach out to your CDW or Tanium account executives, and the team would be more than happy to really understand what it is that you need to see and get out of the platform and how it could work in your very specific environment. All right. If that's it, 5 more seconds. No more questions. Okay. Well, Serge, Teresa, Nicole, unless you've got any last closing remarks.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, team.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.